Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for your participation. Thanks for the registration and participation. Today we are going to have an interesting session on payment of statutory bonus, which is due for any time by next month or maybe before first week. I think most of the companies will disperse bonus by before November Diwali. So this is the right time for the establishments to comply with the statutory bonus disbursement. So, as always, we used to say that no, we usually somebody raised hands. 1 second. Yeah, tell me, yes, please. Hello, someone is asking something. Yeah, you can talk now. I think you raised hands. Okay, I'll continue. Okay, I'll continue. No, we are not going to wait for some more time. We always stick to the time. We do not want to punish those who have already joined. Want to be punctual. So I'm continuing this session, and to have a better bandwidth, I'm disconnecting my video. We'll be having only the audio. So if someone has any issues regarding my audio, please you can do it in the chat box. Okay, today's agenda is we are going to see the applicability, eligibility, what is wages, and very recent amendment in 2015. We have seen minimum wages also came into picture. So where minimum wages is required, I think I have removed my mask. I think hope it is okay. Because few people are sitting before me, so I really do not want to impact them. So I am not having corona irrespective that I wanted to do that. I want to be conscious that I have to wear mask when I was sitting with others. Okay. Hope for now it is clear. So we would be seeing applicability for establishment, eligibility for employees, and the wages and minimum wages applicable for establishment, and what is to be paid to the employees, and which establishment is excluded, and which employees are excluded. Okay, and computation, definitely yes. I have a small working sheet where you can ask many questions over there. It's very simplified one. I have made it very simple working for different scenarios, and the compliances definitely, because it is always a headache for an employer. So if something goes wrong, then he'll be into big issues, challenges. And I had prepared some frequently asked questions, but I request you also to have share some of your queries, so that I will also learn something, because you are there. Many people have joined from a different industry, I believe. So you may have some challenges which is very new to me or very new to others also. It is a learning platform for everyone. So I request you to ask more questions and queries anytime and every time. So that is what is today's agenda. So this is a legislation to provide bonus to persons employed in certain establishment. Why I am telling certain establishment? We will be seeing in the following slides, and this extends to all of India, including Jammu and Kashmir. This legislation was already subsumed with the code on wages. It is already there. This actually speaking, this act is not applicable now. But for one reason, what we are paying payment of bonus is for the previous financial year. Hence, we are discussing this now. Most probably next year we may not discuss this act because it is already subsumed under code on wages, and we are expecting the rules to be notified by Government of India. Once the rules are notified by central government, then the states will also follow. The act will say what to do, and the rules will say how to do. So that is what the small difference between the act and the rules. So we are awaiting that rules also, but now we can. I don't see any big difference between the wages definition or the employee definition or any other definition between the payment of bonus act or the code on wages act. So hopefully both are same. So whatever, maybe the numbers will change, section provisions number may change, otherwise mostly it is almost the same. So the definition, it is applicable to factory. So it says that it is a factory. So here there is no requirement for to specify which is a factory. Everyone knows that manufacturing facility with 10 or more employees with aid of power, it is a factory. If it is 20 or more without power also, it is a factory. So here it is a simple definition, any factory. And so even if it is 10 with power, when the employer has obtained the license, it is called as a factory, it is applicable. And establishment, any other establishment, you can say shop and commercial establishment or catering establishment or a mine or a plantation, whatever establishment used to say, then motor vehicle. So any establishment where 20 or more people are employed, so it is employed, not engaged, employed during an accounting year. If 20 employees were there last year, April 2019 to March 2020, then the act is applicable to that establishment. And once applicable, always applicable. It is same for most of the other legislation also. Irrespective of the head count goes down, it is applicable. It remained applicable. So bonus can be linked with the profit. That is what most of the establishments are doing. But in many manufacturing facilities, it is linked with the productivity. It will be between agreement between the trade union and the management. They will say that you have to link it with the production so that it will be more. Where it will not be 8.33. Usually it will be more than 15%. There is no requirement for establishment to earn a profit. So if it is linked with the productivity, the workers will get more. So there will be an agreement. In such situation, it can be on productivity also. Accounting year, there are 3 different accounting years as per the act. Some establishment, I know many establishment, US based or UK based establishment, they don't follow, or they will follow Indian accounting system as well as the US accounting system also, or their host country accounting system. So they can also define the accounting year accordingly. But for practical reasons, we always consider accounting year as 1st of April to 31st of March following year. That's what is the accounting year. And as I told, if there is a US company operating in India, they can change their accounting year. Usually they will be having it July to June, or maybe sometime it is in some country it is April, January to December also, but only once with the permission of the Finance Authority, Government of India. So then for them the accounting year will be such 12 months. Okay, there was an amendment in 2015. There's an effective from 2014, but it was still stayed in the court of law. I think someone has said. No, someone is asking, is it the period January to December as the return filed by December? No, it is not. I'll come back to this on this. Okay, the amendment states that employee means any person other than apprentice. We're going to see what is the exclusion for employee that will be there. Employed in a salary wage. This was enhanced from 10,000 to 21,000 very recently. So this is to find the eligibility of an employee, whether the person is eligible for bonus or not. And there are many types of employment were listed: unskilled, manual, supervisory, everything. So except apprentices. So that's what I had very clearly mentioned. Nowadays, establishments are having different nomenclature for many employees. You cannot see those kind of employment types in the standing order also. Standing order very easily you can say probationer, temporary, trainees, badli. But nowadays it is very intern also, many interns are there. Trainees, many trainees. Apprentices, many apprentices. Company apprentice, apprentices, board apprentice, many things there. Company trainee, interns. There's so much of confusion among the employer itself. Interns, academic interns, they come during the academic year, post academic year, before qualifying for the graduation. After completing the graduation, also they are called as an intern. So many classifications are there. Employers are recruiting people, engaging them. Sometimes they learn, sometimes they work, sometimes they perform, deliver, things like that. So here employee includes anyone which includes probationer, temporary employee, retrenched employee, dismissed employee. Dismissed here means not on a misconduct. We are going to see the definition in the later slide. Seasonal employee, some companies they work only for 6 months during the 3 months and then have a break and again they will work, things like that. Part-time, definitely yes, there is many judicial orders stating that part-time, even the sweepers now working in many organizations, they come in the morning, they sweep and then go. So for them also bonus is payable. Yes, can you type in the chat box? What about contract? I will explain. What about contract workers? Contract workers is something different. I will explain in the later stage. It's coming. P-state employee, part-time employee, company apprentice, company trainee. So the trainee, company trainee, where they are paid with wages or a stipend. They are paid. It is not that paid, non-paid, unpaid trainee. Non-academic intern. That's why I very clearly mentioned it is non-academic intern. Academic intern, no, there is no requirement. Where there will not be any. Okay, somebody is asking what is piece rate employment. I'll tell you. Now somebody will be asked to do. Oh, today you come and finish only in engineering industry, in a BD making industry, and many small scale industries. You come and do only that. That's all. You can do it in a 1 hour time or half an hour time. Per piece, if you complete a job, then you will be paid something. That is what called piece rate employment. Or maybe many product, they make only in electronics also. Today you can you are going to do only making some switches or some boards. That's all. More than that, you are not required to be there in the office, the manufacturing facility. These people are called the piece rate employees. Non-academic intern, why I very specifically mentioned here is academic interns are not paid anything, but non-academic interns, they are paid, so they are covered. Employer, a factory is always an occupier. In other establishments, this person who has ultimate control of the affairs of the organization. Why I mentioned here is some companies it is managing director, some companies it is CEO, some companies it is manager itself, general manager. So many other designations are there. Who is having ultimate control on the affairs of the organization is called an employer for that organization. So in 2015 amendment effective from 2014 April, so there is a specific inclusion a specific insert was there in the notification stating that a person who's under scheduled employment, for him the bonus will not be on the threshold wage. We will be seeing what is the threshold wage. It is threshold wage or minimum wages, whichever is higher. So this point we will be discussing in detail in the later slides. That's why what is scheduled employment? It means an employment specified in the schedule or any process, any branch work. So in an establishment itself, one department will be covered under scheduled employment, others will not come under scheduled employment. For scheduled employment, minimum wages is fixed by the government. For others, there is no fixed minimum wages. You can fix any wages. So there in the scheduled employment, employer has to pay the minimum wages as notified by the government or more than that. Branches or departments. So here this is very sensitive legislation where it very clearly states that apart from the applicability of the organization, here few companies will be having a profit and loss for specific department. Some production will be having more. They wanted to have a specific profit and loss account for that particular department or segment for a big factory or a big establishment. So, or maybe you have a diversified service providing organization. So each service will have different types of service, and one department will earn more profit, some will go loss, some will be like they'll be equal, they no loss or no gain, something like that. So in such cases, even though you are one single entity, if you have a different P&L and the balance sheet is filed, then the bonus payable is also separate. It is not only one. That's what the section 3 states, where any accounting year a separate balance sheet and P&L are prepared and maintained in respect of any such department or undertaking or branch. Maybe Chennai you have one, Bangalore you have one, Gurgaon you have one, then that branch shall be or department shall be treated as a separate establishment for the purpose of this act only. So then the bonus has to be specifically, why? Because this particular legislation, you have to pay bonus on your profit, nothing else. That is why they are very specific on the balance sheet and the profit loss account. Wages for eligibility, there are in bonus. So there are two things you have to consider. One is wages for eligibility. So if I draw a basic wages, so here also there is a big confusion. Always people have, many establishments are also not following this one. When a definition, you have to look, there is any confusion, you have to look when the act was promulgated. So this bonus act was promulgated in 1965. At those time, what actually is the compensation structure you have to see. So here, what is wages or what is salary, in as per section 2 of 21 very clearly states that salary and wages includes all remuneration, whether in cash or kind, includes DA. So in 1965, it is only basic wages, or maybe some industry there are dearness allowances which was paid, and in that definition it was very clearly told that it does not include any other allowance. I can see, I can I consulted many organizations who came to us and asking why the other allowances cannot be included, because we are paying every month. So it is not like that. See, because you may have mentioned that in an appointment order, but here it is very clear that any other allowance is not included for the definition of salary or wages. This is only to find the eligibility of an employee. So it is employer convenience. I'll tell you what many employers are doing for the purpose of Bonus Act, they consider gross wages. They tell that here it is mentioned as all remuneration. So I will consider basic DA, other allowance, special allowance, any allowance, and exclude the employee, and they don't pay bonus. That is wrong. When they go for a gratuity, under that legislation, what they do is they consider only basic and DA for the same employee, because if they consider similar to this legislation, if they consider other allowances, they have to pay heavy amount. So it is like people were playing with the legislation. I think please wait and I'll come back to you. Somebody is raising hand. So it is like playing with the legislation, the definition of the legislation, and we don't like PF or any other legislation. We don't have much judgment or people going to the court, because in PF, if any problem is there, it is between PF and the employer. The PF office always goes to court, or employer goes to court, and there is a definition and the judgment comes. But here, if I am suffering, if my employer is not paying bonus, considering all wages, and telling me that I am out of bonus, I am not. Though my basic NDA is less than 21,000, they consider gross wages. Taking the line includes all remuneration, but they don't consider it does not include other allowances. So there is no big judicial reference on this to state that no, it is only basic NDA. With my experience, I am telling this is my view, my opinion. It is not influencing or impacting any of you. I'm just telling my experience. It is only basic NDA for the bonus legislation. A person who draws less than 21,000, which was after this amendment, is eligible for payment of bonus. The person earning a monthly wages of basic plus dearness allowance less than 21,000. But there was one Madras High Court order which states that city compensatory allowance also has to be considered as a wages, except for that. But city compensatory allowance was not paid by many establishments. So, a person who is drawing less than 21,000 is eligible for payment of bonus. So, after that, so I consider a person who is, we have people from 20,500, 21,000, 18,000, 12,000, 7,000, so many people are there. But bonus, sharing of a profit. So how to equalize people? So there's a threshold wages has been mentioned in the legislation itself. So here there's a minimum percentage of bonus has to be paid 8.33. Maximum percentage is to be paid, which is 20%, that is mentioned in section 10 and section 11. So for that, they have they are calling some name called threshold wages, which was 3,500 earlier. Now it was revised to 7,000. Okay, this 7,000 means if a person whose basic and DA is 15,000, his threshold wage for purpose of computation of bonus is 7,000. Even if his wages is or her wages is 20,000, for the purpose of calculation of bonus, it is 7,000. A person who is drawing 7,000, for me also it is 7,000. But a person whose basic and DA is 6,800, it is not 7,000, it is 6,800. Okay. This is what is wages for calculation of bonus. This is the second one. On the same wages, there is a third description, which was an amendment in 2015, which very clearly states if a person is working in a scheduled employment, is covered under scheduled employment, he will be paid a minimum wages. There, it is not threshold wages, it is threshold wages or minimum wages, whichever is higher. I'll be showing you some examples in the computation of a bonus example. There you can see what is the difference. So you have to find out a person is eligible or not. First one. The second one, the threshold wage. And if the person is coming under scheduled employment, how to find out a person is coming under scheduled employment or not? You have to refer to your minimum wages rules, state specific minimum wages rules, or maybe the labor department every half yearly or every yearly, they will publish certain type of establishment minimum wages. If particular type of employment is there mentioned over there, then you have to consider them as they are part of scheduled employment. For them, bonus is payable on the minimum wages or threshold, whichever is higher. Okay. Now is it compulsory to pay statutory bonus for loss-making companies? Yeah, I'll come. I'm coming back to you. These things are we are going to discuss. Someone raised hands, but can you just chat or type it in the chat box so that it is easy for me? I missed out when you raised hands. Okay, I'm going to the next slide. Okay, when and how much establishment has to pay statutory bonus? So I prepared a different criteria, and what is the answer to that, whether we need to pay statutory bonus or not. My company has not completed 5 years. 5 years, you are in the legislation, payment of bonus act, years means here it is a balance sheet or accounting year, which we have discussed. If I have filed 5 balance sheets, then it is 5 full years. So that's why I mentioned here, my company has not completed 5 balance sheets and not earned profit in any of the year. So this is called infancy period. First 5 years of your balance sheet P&L account. Infancy period, there is no need for you to pay statutory bonus. My company has filed balance sheet for the second accounting year after starting the company. During the infancy period, second year, we had earned profit in such year. In such cases, yes, only for that particular year, you have to disperse bonus, compute what is the percentage you are going to give, 8.33 or 9 or 10 or 11 or up to 20. What is that you are going to give? You have to pay bonus only for that particular year, the second year. Third and fourth, you are not earning profit, you just forget. You are making loss, just forget. Just forget. Okay. My company has filed a 6-year balance sheet, but not earned profit in this year too. What I meant here is, for the past 5 years, there is no profit or there is a loss. So no profit, a loss or no loss, no profit. So I have not paid bonus. But in the 6th year, I have not earned a profit, but I earned a loss. So from 6th year onward, it is mandatory, irrespective of whether you are making a profit or not, you have to at least pay minimum bonus of 8.33%. So there is a one more provision here is you have to at least pay 100 rupees or 8.33 of the wages, whichever is higher. So here it is always, so any person's minimum wages is more than 100 rupees per month. So it is always 8.33%. So after 5 years, after the infancy period is over, you are compulsorily have to pay the bonus, or otherwise what you have to do is you have to get exemption from the government. You have to write it and get it from the government, or you have to go to the court and stating that you are at loss, you don't have money to pay bonus. If the court approves, then you cannot, and no need to pay, otherwise you have to pay. My company was paying 20% bonus every year, but this year was making loss. What we have to do? Same scenario. There is no requirement for you to follow the same set of percentage every year. So whether you, after 5th year, whether you make a profit or loss or not making anything, you have to pay bonus. It can be different each year. It is not mandatory that last year you have determined and declared the 15%, you have to stick to 15% henceforth. Not like that. So minimum of 8.33 you have to declare and disperse. Next one is my company has earned bigger profit and the management was magnanimous enough to share more, around 30%. What shall we do? Statutorily, you are required to pay only up to 20%. There is no requirement as per the act. If at all, if you wanted to pay more than that, it will be considered as an ex gratia. There is no difference for the employee, but for the employer, I think in the booking of your account, you may have some difference. Otherwise, for employee, it is taxable income. There is no other. He is very happy if you get more money. We consciously paying basic plus DA more than 21,000 to avoid ESI. It is a live example. Now, some few years back, I got this words from one of my known client. What will happen to compliance with Bonus Act? So, as of now, 21,000 below 21,000 or below is the eligibility. If your employees are earning more than 21,000, ESI Act is also not eligible for those employees, and there is no requirement to pay any statutory bonus to those employees. So these are all the different scenarios. I think I have answered the question which has been raised in the chat box. I have another one. Infancy period of 5 years is in the sense whether it is as per the FY coverage as per date or inception of the company. So it depends. I have already made it very clear the accounting year. Whether, see, for example, you start a company only in January and you file a balance sheet, P&L account and file a balance sheet before the income tax authority for 3 months, January, February, March. Then it will be considered one full year. It is not January you started, then 5 years calendar year, not like that. That's why I very clearly mentioned it is balance sheet. Deemed work days. Okay, this is very, very important. While we are calculating what is the number of days a person worked, so what is the bonus we have to disperse? The computation part we can see. So if a person is absent due to temporary disablement, an accident or an injury during the course of employment or during the employment, arising out of the employment or during the course of employment. I think everybody knows about the course of employment. Something happens inside the factory or inside the office. Course of the employment is while commuting to office or commuting back to home. That, so if there is any injury happens, it is considered as an employment injury. In such cases, if there is any absence, that will be considered as a worked days for the purpose of computing bonus. He or she has been on leave with the salary. So a person takes leave, 1 month leave, 10 days leave, 15 days leave. That is also considered as a worked days. He, she has been laid off under agreement or permitted. Like now, during the period of the COVID-19, many companies have laid off. They are not paying salary. For the purpose of bonus, whether you pay it or not, you have to consider that period, 2 months period, 3 months period, while you are paying the maybe next year bonus. You have to consider that 2 months also for the purpose of calculation. So you may not have paid the wages, but for the purpose of computation of bonus, you have to consider those periods. Maternity leave, 26 weeks or 12 weeks, whatever, or maybe 6 weeks, or maybe it depends upon different types of scenarios in maternity leave. That period also will be considered deemed work days. And very specifically, there is no mention of one particular requirement. A person goes on ESI sickness benefit. A person who is covered under ESI goes on a sickness, he will be paid a percentage of salary by the ESIC. Whether to consider that period, that is not clearly mentioned in this act. That's all. Usually, the employers will consider that also as a deemed work days. So arriving at bonus, these are the 4 big terms. Terminology always having is something different. It is always kind of a financial statement. I have simplify it to the extent even a layman can understand. More than this, I cannot define this, because I am not an accounting person to define much less than what has been explained over here. Available surplus, these are all the terms we repeatedly see when in the bonus computation. Available surplus is equal to gross profit minus depreciation admissible under Section 32 of Income Tax Act and the Development Allowance. I think this only finance people we may know. So that is arrived, available surplus is arrived. After arriving available surplus, you have to arrive at a allocable surplus. So there is a surplus. On that, how much you are going to allocate it to disbursement of bonus for that particular year. So allocable surplus, 60% of available surplus has to be shared as a profit to the employees, or 67% in case of non-banking companies. The allocable surplus so computed is distributed amongst the employees in proportion to the salary or wages received by them during the relevant. Here you may have some doubt. Employees in proportion to salary and wages. So you have mentioned that there is a threshold wages. Even a person who is drawing 15,000 has to be considered as 7,000 wages. Here what they are trying to tell is if a person joins in between a year, prorated bonus has to be paid. That is what I will explain this in detail in the following slides. Set on and set off. This big question always people ask. I think while registering, few of the participants also asked it. Very simply, I put set on. Allocable surplus exceeds the amount of maximum bonus payable. So, for example, this year I have a surplus and I wanted to pay bonus for the eligible employees. So, the required amount is only 10 lakhs, but I have 20 lakhs more than the bonus to be payable. So, for example, I have to pay only 10 lakhs as bonus for my employees, but I have 30 lakhs. What to do with that 20 lakhs? That amount has to be carried forward to the next year. That's all. Very simple. That is set on. Excess is carried forward for setting on in succeeding accounting year to be utilized for the purpose of payment of bonus for the next year. Maybe next year you may earn profit, or maybe you will be having more employees, so eligible employees to be disbursed. So this is called set on. This will be carried forward only up to 4 years, 4 accounting years. Set off, there is no available surplus or allocable surplus in the respect of that year, falls short of the amount minimum. So that's what. See here, the scenario is something different where I need to pay 10 lakhs for my employees. So there is no surplus. So if there is something carried forward from the previous year, I can utilize and then pay bonus. So this year my allocable surplus is only 2 lakhs, but I have to pay 10 lakhs as a bonus for all employees. So if there is a set on, earlier the last year I had carried forward something, from there I can take and I will pay bonus for that year. So set on, which could be utilized for the purpose of payment of minimum bonus. It is only minimum bonus. So you cannot utilize it to pay up to the maximum bonus. So this is very simple example. I could able to make out from the big financial terms. I'll take some questions. Infancy period. Okay, I answered this one. Is loss of pay days needs to be considered for bonus? No. Absence days only in case of employment injury. Other absence is not considered for the purpose of computation of bonus. Okay, computation of bonus. How a person, you have to find out a person is eligible or not, eligible employee. So I have reserved a question, why contractors are not included. That I will explain in the later stage. I'm still having that one question pending to be answered. Employee eligibility, how to find out? So first thing, what you have to check whether the person was working in an establishment which is covered. First of all, you have to check whether your establishment is covered or not, and your establishment earned a profit in the first 5 years. Okay, an employee is working in an establishment to which bonus act is payable. If yes, then eligible for bonus. Non-eligible condition, we have seen that I am not covered under the act itself, and a few more companies are not required. Few more that I will say overall there, that is there in the latest slide. Employee has worked for more than 30 days. So it is 30 days is nothing but 1 month. So I had worked more than a month in 30 days, or maybe you can decide this side like this. In first month I joined, later I have worked for 15 days, and the next month I work for some 20 days and I just resign. In such cases also, you have worked, earned wages for 30 days, so you are eligible. So if I had worked for minimum of 30 days in the last financial year, I will be paid bonus for that particular 30 days. So I am eligible. Otherwise, I am not eligible. So, and then we have very clearly, exhaustively discussed about employees' wages, basic plus DA, 21,000 per month or less. In between, if I see, for example, my basic and DA from April to September was 20,000 basic and DA. From October onwards, I get a promotion or an increment, then my basic and DA goes to 22,000. For the first 6 months, I am eligible for bonus. From October, I am not eligible. So that computation part also you can see very easily in the slides where I have a sample calculation. Employee was not convicted for specific misconduct. Specific misconduct, we have a list. So I was not convicted. Whether I am still working in the organization or I already discharged or dismissed or separated. So if I am not convicted for that misconduct, I am eligible for bonus. So I have to see whether these four particular specific factors are there to make whether a person is eligible to draw bonus or not. Okay. So I have the calculation here. Before calculation, I'll take the 1 second. I'll take the action. Sorry, and so if there is no allocable surplus nor set on, can it be set up to next year? So anyway, you have to pay. See, for example, that is what the other participant also asked. I am at loss for this year, whether I need to pay bonus or not. I don't have no money from the previous year. There is no set on from the previous year. This year also I am at loss. So what I have to do? And that question and this question goes together. Yes, you need to pay because you don't have any money from the previous year. Current year also you are at loss. Anyway, you have to pay bonus. That's all. How you have to make bonus? Maybe that is up to the management to buy a loan, or how you are paying your wages to your employees, irrespective of you are at loss. Similarly, bonus is also has to be paid. Weekly off is included for work days. Is it correct? Yes. Okay, I am going for the computation. So I'll spend some good time here so that you can ask questions on this slide. So this is a very simple scenario with a different computation. So the factors here, what I have mentioned, basic DA of an employee, minimum wages is there or not, whether he is coming under scheduled employment or period. Period here means how many months he has worked in that organization. If a person has worked 6 months, 20 days, 6 months, 20 days, you have to consider as 7 months. If a person is worked 6 months, 10 days, you have to consider only as 6 months. Okay. This question also will be raised. So before that, I wanted to tell that very clearly, to clarify that. So period is mentioned here. 6 months or 12 months means 1 full year. Percentage of bonus declared by the employer. Okay, I'll take questions after completing this slide. Maybe from this slide I will get more questions. So I'll take calculation, how I did bonus to be paid after arriving the calculation, and the remarks how the calculation was made. So I'll take scenario 1. His basic and DA is 20,500. Okay, I consider this person working in establishment which is for which bonus act is applicable. So 20,500 is below 21,000 basic plus GA. So he is eligible. Minimum wages is not coming under scheduled employment. So there is no minimum wages for his particular type of employment. So he worked for 6 months in the previous financial year. The company has declared 8.33%. So the calculation here is he is eligible below 21,000, but his threshold wages as per the legislation is 7,000. So we have to only consider 7,000 into he worked for 6 months and 8.33. So this is how the calculation has to be done. So the bonus to be paid is 3,499. Usually it is 3,500. Okay. Here we have considered only the threshold wage, irrespective of his wages is more than threshold wage. Because he is not coming under minimum wages, only 7,000 has to be considered. Scenario 2, basic plus DA is 18,500. Their minimum wages is also 18,500. The employer is paying the same amount of basic plus DA as minimum wages. So he worked for full year. The company has declared 10% of bonus. So we take minimum wages or basic and DA, whichever is higher. So we are considering minimum wages. 18,500 into 12 into 10% comes to 22,200. So sorry, minimum wage is more than threshold. So both are same. I'm sorry, this typo error is there. Okay. The third scenario, 18,500. Same scenario, basic and DA, or maybe the same company. A person is working in a department who is covered under scheduled employment. In the same category, another person is working in a different department where it is not coming under scheduled employment. So there is no minimum wages for that particular department. It can happen. Or maybe a different company where no minimum wages is there. So 18,500. He also worked for 12 months, 10%. Here we have considered only 7,000, not 18,500, because there is no minimum wages. So as per this calculation, the bonus is arrived at rupees 8,400. So here we have considered only 7,000, which is threshold. Scenario 4, basic plus DA is 6,800. Minimum wages for that particular scheduled employment is 6,500 only. A person worked for 12 months. The company declared bonus 15%. So here, whichever is higher, I have taken basic plus DA. So 6,800 into 12 into 15% is 12,240. So basic plus DA is more than minimum wages. Scenario 5, 6,800 is the basic and DA, but at particular employment there is no minimum wages. He worked only for 3 months, and that company has declared 20% bonus. The calculation will be 6,800 into 3 months, a period, into 20%, that comes to 4,080. Basic and DA is considered as the minimum, as there is no minimum wages. Scenario 6, 6,800, minimum wages is 12,000. Okay, I'll tell you this scenario. I have particularly specifically taken this scenario. There are many establishments where they split the wages. Here in this example, 12,000 is the minimum wages, basic plus DA. Somebody has to be paid. But to avoid PF, people always split that 12,000, 6,800 is considered as a basic plus DA, and they consider another 4,000 or 5,000 as a maybe our balance, maybe around 5,200 as a other allowance or something else, so that there is no requirement for them to pay PF. But now that also has come to a full stop after the February 28, 2019 Supreme Court order. Whether you name it anything below 15,000, you have to pay. Even HRA is considered in one of the particular judgments. Even HRA is considered for PF calculation. So here I very specifically put that scenario 6. So there are some companies, still we have seen many companies who are split the wages. The minimum wages is 12,000. Basic plus DA is 6,800. They are paying less, but they are adding more other allowances in the other allowances. So that's why I have very clearly mentioned period is 1 full year, percentage of bonus declared is 20%. So the calculation is 12,000 into 12 into 20%. Bonus to be paid is 28,800. So I take the same example, scenario 6, where an employer, though the minimum wages is 12,000, is not paying more than 6,800 at all. Even wages is not paid. No other allowances are paid. Only 6,800 is paid. Means that company itself is a non-compliance company. He has to pay at least minimum wages, which that also he is not paying. So there are multiple non-compliances. For the purpose of bonus, if he is not paying wages more than 6,800, he can stick to pay 6,800. So here what I considered is he split his wages 6,800 plus other allowances. That's why I have mentioned the 12,000 as the maximum you have to consider and pay as a bonus. So if it is otherwise, it is a non-compliance altogether under minimum wages act and as well as the bonus act and the PF act also. If the person is employer, he will be in problem. If he's an immediate employer, mean a contractor, then even the principal employer will be into problem. Okay. Anybody has any doubt in this calculation? What I will do is I'll take few questions raised in the previous slide, and then I'll proceed to next one. So set off will work only if we have a set on surplus 10. Yes, correct. For calculation of bonus, should we include weekly of only worked days? See, for example, this confusion always comes. For the purpose of bonus act, I'll tell you, if you give a weekly off, will you pay salary or not? See, for example, a person works Monday to Friday or Monday to Saturday. You give a weekly off on Saturday and Sunday, or at least Sunday. But you will be paying salary for 30 days. So for the purpose of bonus, you have to consider 30 days. That includes the work days also. Weekly off also considering work days. Okay, I think I don't get any query on this computation. I think it is clear. I have a question. In case non-compliance, who's responsible? Principal employer or contractor? It depends upon different act. If it is a contractual agreement between two parties, primarily it is the contractor. If the contractor is fly away by night contractor, then the principal employer also will be accountable, liable. When the contractor is liable, the principal employer will be accountable. Now, he will also get a copy of the notice. He has to ensure the contractor is complying. If the contractor is ran, he was not there in the scene at all, then every other liability comes on the heads of the principal employer. Explain sixth scenario once again for computation of bonus. Okay, sixth scenario I am explaining again. The basic NDA is 6,800, and where that particular position is coming under scheduled employment, and for that it is 12,000 is the minimum wages payable. But this employer, what he does is he's paying 6,800 at basic plus DA, so that he can pay only less PF. He is understanding so that basic and DA only I am paying PF, so I am splitting the wages. Other he pays as other allowances. So in such situation, minimum wages is more than the basic and DA. So hence he has to pay bonus computation on the minimum wages, 12,000 into 1 full year, that is 12 months, into 20%, that is the bonus has been declared. So here the employer is showing basic and DA less. That is what I had mentioned here in the sixth scenario. Okay. I take this example, 6,500. The scenario 4 and 5. So the threshold wages is mentioned as 7,000. So even if a person is getting 20,000 or 15,000 or 18,000, he has to be considered and paid 7,000, which is a minimum threshold wages for computation purpose. So people in many times will ask whether, see, I have many employees who is drawing salary. For example, housekeeping employees, or maybe in some area security and maintenance employees will get only monthly salary of less than 7,000. So in such situation, employers, I have asked the question, their salary itself is less than 7,000, 6,800 or 6,500. Do we have to pay minimum bonus 37,000? No. That is why I have mentioned this in this slide. Section 10 of Payment of Bonus Act very clearly states, subject to other provisions of the Act, every employer shall bound to pay every employee in respect of accounting year a minimum bonus which shall be 8.33% of salary or wages. That's all. So you have to pay 8.33% of salary or wages, which is basic and DA. That's all. Or 100 rupees, whichever is higher. So here, that is the meaning. So in case your basic and DA is less than 7,000, there is no requirement for any employer to pay 7,000. Only the 8.33% of the basic and DA earned. So if you compute 6,500 a person is earning, so into 12 into 8.33, it will come around 6,500. For 7,000, it is 7,000. So in such cases, you have to pay what, stick only to 6,500 only, not 7,000. That is why I have mentioned here. One second. Yeah, you can talk. Someone raised hand. Hello. You can unmute and you can talk. You raised a hand and you can unmute. You are allowed to talk now. I think he is having a problem. Okay. Okay, we will see what is the employer rights. Employer has, other than payment of bonus, he has a right of forfeiting the bonus also. If a person is still working or dismissed, but he was convicted for some reason, that reasons is mentioned as a fraud, riot or violent behavior, misappropriation of funds, theft or sabotaging the property of the establishment, or even sexual harassment is included very recently. In such cases, the bonus can be forfeited by the employer. So if in some establishment, many establishments where the bonus has to be paid by November 30, but bonus will be paid in advance for some festivals, some puja, something like that. In Kerala, I think it is paid during Onam. Some is paid during Onam, and the balance is paid afterwards. So in such cases, what the employer has a right is, they can deduct a bonus which is already paid. Bonus paid in advance, a puja bonus which is already paid, they can deduct, and the balance only they have to pay. That is the employer right. And there is any dispute, maybe in manufacturing facility there will always be a dispute, then it can be referred to a labor court or labor tribunal. This is the employer is also having the right to go to the labor court. Employee's right. So if employee feels that in the entire slide, only when employees establishment is covered under Act, he has this right. So if he feels that wrongly he was considered and he was taken out of bonus, and instead of basic and DA they considered gross, so how he can proceed to get his bonus? He can within 1 year. So for example, the employer has to pay bonus before November 30, that is close of 8 months from the books of accounts. So April 1st, March 31st books of accounts close. So from April 1st, 8 months starts, it ends by November 30. So from November 30, if I did not receive any bonus, I can go to the labor court or labor tribunal and file a claim complaint with the authority asking that no, my employer did not pay the bonus and they require intervention from the authority. Actually speaking, it is 1 year, but for a genuine case, it can be extended if the authority says yes. And disputes, if any less bonus is paid, and I am coming under scheduled employment, but only threshold wages was considered were different, and so many other things, and I was paid less, the other person is paid more, all kind of disputes taken, and deemed work days are not covered. I went on a employment injury or maternity, that period was not considered and the bonus was not paid in full. In these kind of a dispute, they can go to the labor court. And after going to the labor court, if there is an order in his or her favor, employee gets an order in his or her favor, which was not obeyed by the employer, then they can go to the collector, district magistrate for a recovery from the employer. That also their employees' right. But hopefully this are not exercised by any of the employee because they are still working, they are not. So they are afraid of raising anything with the employer. These are the rights available, just I wanted to mention. Establishment which are not covered under the Bonus Act, I very clearly stated earlier. So central government, state government, there is no statutory, this act is not applicable. Merchant shipping, dock workers, this is not applicable. Any insurance company, life or non-life, general insurance company, for those establishment, because they are not working for profit. They are not earning any profit. So this is not there. Financial institutions like ICICI, I'm not talking about the bank, but ICICI, IDBI, I think all these become a bank also. Banks, they can get a bonus, but others, ICICI, IDBI, UDI, SIDBI, these organizations, there is no requirement for bonus. Social welfare organization, Red Cross, CRY, Child Research and Youth, and RBI, there is no bonus. Banks, they have bonus. Schools, colleges, universities, any educational institution, they are not required because they are not into profit. Hospitals, any chamber of commerce, all these organizations, they are not required to come under the purview of bonus legislation. Okay, the statutory compliance requirement by the employer every year. So Form A, Form B, usually this kind of a form is a kind of a working they have to do. This can be done only by the finance department. These two forms are required, compulsorily has to be maintained by the employer, because from there only you arrive at the profit, and what is the percentage you are declaring, is that correct or not, the authorities can see. So Form A, Form B, it is forms, and Form C is a register where it will state the details of the employee code, name, and where he is working, what is his wages, what is the bonus declared, whether it is minimum wages or the threshold wages. So how many days he worked and what is the bonus he got. That register has to be there. It has to match with the books of accounts, the total amount. And the Form D, it is an annual return, kind of a replication of a register. In nutshell, you have to file a return. So here, the return, I am answering the question raised previously. The bonus is bonus. They have a time to pay up to November 30. So after that, that consolidation has to happen within 2 months. They have to file the returns. That is why the time is given up to January. So it is not that the calendar year, January to December, and return is filed. It is actually speaking April to March, and 8 months for the calculation, computation, and disbursement of bonus, and then file the return before the authority. That is why the time is extended up to January 31st. The returns for state authority is something different. Central authorities, it has to be filed online. So that that is something different. In many states, the annual return has to be filed along with the factory if you are a manufacturing facility. If you can add everything in your annual return, there is no specific requirement to separately file an annual return under Bonus Act if you are filing with the annual return. Okay, ex gratia, there is always a confusion amongst the employer. I am paying ex gratia. People, I already paid, I am are paying now. I consider this as an ex gratia. Whether I can treat this as a bonus already paid. No, ex gratia is a voluntary payment. There is no legal requirement because sometimes you pay, sometimes you may not pay, but the payment of bonus is a mandatory payment required under the law. So ex gratia has no obligation. So for example, many companies will pay for those employees who are more than 21,000 also. So you are voluntarily paying. So it is not a requirement, but you are paying. So there you have to consider this as an ex gratia. So it is not a statutory requirement. So sometimes it is an agreement in the manufacturing facility, agreement between the trade union, irrespective of whether it is a bonus or not. Every employee in the organization, even up to the director, they will be getting some profit share. That is called ex gratia. So that is not statutorily required. Or in many cases, employers will pay out of their pocket. So there they will not strict on 8.33 or 20%. They can pay for some employee it is more, some employee it is less. That also they can decide. So ex gratia is not a statutory requirement. So timeline to disperse, we have already seen that within 8 months, November 30, the accounting year closes on March 31st. If there is any dispute and then it went to the labor court or tribunal, after there's an award for that dispute, from that date, within 1 month, the bonus has to be paid. The waiver of timeline, if there is any, for some examples, for example, this year, many companies, they are struggling even to pay the PF and ESI. I think many companies will go not pay the bonus, or they will say that I am unable to pay because there is no cash flow, there is no business, I don't have any money, how I can pay the bonus for our employees. We have paid salary also. That is what people have already started asking. Then they can get an extension for the payment of bonus from the government. So don't go for a non-compliance, get an extension, write to the government, get an extension. This is very new scenario, how to get extension, that's also not known. But if you wanted to be non-compliant, you can delay the complaint. So make the bonus maybe next year also, but don't delay it. You can write to the labor officer. I don't know how far the labor authorities will agree to the terms. Many companies like staffing companies or many manpower agencies or even in many BPOs, what they used to do is they will pay the bonus. So for 7,000, they consider as a minimum bonus to be payable 8.33%, divide and pay 583 rupees every month in this year itself. So actually speaking, the bonus is to be paid for the previous financial year. You have to finalize the P&L and then find the profit and then you have to pay. But for many attrition or many other reasons, people always pay with this month itself. In such cases, that is allowed. You can pay a monthly bonus also. In such cases, what the employer has to do is they have to reconcile the accounts. What is paid every month, what has to be paid after arriving at the surplus. If there is any difference, then they have to pay the difference. Otherwise, no requirement, but they have to reconcile the books of accounts. Interim puja bonus, we have seen if something is paid in advance, it has to be adjusted with the bonus which is paid earlier. So we have seen within 8 months of closing accounts time limit. Arrear bonus, if you are delaying anything and you are not paid something like that, it is the complied requirement is 9% interest you have to pay. See, for example, you are paying in the month of December or January, you have to pay with 9% interest from April, not from November, from April. So you are delaying after the due date, which is November 30. Where a dispute is before authority, such bonus has to be, we have seen this. The very, very important one, the fourth one, are the resigned, absconded, and superannuated or discharged employees. So in the last financial year, many employees would have gone, separated from the roles of the company for a different reason. For them also, you have to pay bonus. You have to calculate for 2 months or 10 months or 12 months, you have to calculate. If they have been dismissed for some misconduct, which we have mentioned earlier, fraud, a theft or something like that, otherwise, they are also eligible for bonus. This money is not your money. I think I have mentioned in the later slide that you have to ensure that money is paid to them, or later after taking some effort in tracing such employees and he could not able to reach out to them to pay the bonus, then you have to deposit that money to the LWF, Labor Welfare Board, under Labor Welfare Fund. You cannot keep that money. So monthly bonus we have seen. So what usually people are doing this, they are paying that 583 rupees extra so that they will get a better net pay. That is allowed. Sometimes that monies are reimbursed by principal employer. So when the as an agreement they get it from the principal employer, the contract is giving. So the challenges faced by the by paying monthly bonuses, all that money will attract ESI because it is paid monthly. You cannot treat that as a bonus. Bonus is paid only once in a year. If you are paying as a monthly, it will attract ESI. And as I told, reconciliation has to happen. That is another big work for the accounts also. That has to be done later. Okay. Who are not eligible for payment of bonuses? Those who have not completed 30 days, we have seen. Persons engaged through contractors. So I think someone has asked these questions. Persons engaged through contractors are not on the rolls of the establishment. They will not be coming under the books of accounts. They will be on the agreement between the principal employer and the immediate employer contract. So when the principal employer engage one or more contractors, they will be having an agreement stating that you provide these services, I will pay you a compensation. That compensation structure will have basic DA, PF of employer contribution, ESI of employer contribution, bonus also will be there, gratuity will be there, management fee will be there. For housekeeping and security and engineering, they will be reimbursing that money for dress also. So all these things will be part of the agreement. So in such cases, contractor has to take it because he was the employer for the contractual employees. Principal employer is not responsible. Whether he pay through the agreement or not, principal employer is not mandated to pay this. But any agreement will be having these kind of all the compensation structure what I had mentioned. Apart from that, they will add their management fee also 8% or 10%, things like that. So principal employer is not obliged to pay bonus. If the principal employer through an agreement pays it to the contractor and the contractor is not paying, maybe contractor can be questioned by the principal employer, but it is a requirement between the employee and the employer, the contractor and the contractual employee. That is what. And also, if I am a principal employer, I am telling that I am not obliged to pay any bonus. So if you wanted to take service or otherwise, I will give to other service provider. And without getting a bonus, if the contractor is getting the service, then it is his problem, the contractor's problem to pay bonus or not, because he has to pay bonus on his profit and he has to share it to the contractor. So usually in India, I think through an agreement, the principal employer always pay the bonus also. They are paying gratuity also 4.81% every month, and they pay leave wages every month, 1, 2, 3 days leave wages also is paid. Whether the service provider is paying it to the employee or not, the principal employer is always paying. So that's why principal employer is not directly obliged to pay bonus, or through an agreement only it is payable. I think I answered the question asked initially. Apprentices under the Apprentices Act are not eligible. Employee was convicted, I have already discussed this one, due to fraud, misappropriation, sabotage. These people are not eligible for bonus. Okay, non-compliance. Okay, non-compliance. If any employer contravenes the provisions of Act, fails comply direction request from the authority, imprisonment up to 6 months or 1,000 rupees per non-compliance. It is not on the whole it is 1,000 rupees. So you have not filed a return 1,000 rupees. You have not paid appropriate bonus 1,000 rupees. You have not maintained the register 1,000 rupees. You have not maintained A or B, or you have not considered a deemed your case. For each provision, you will be non-compliances, it is 1,000 rupees, or maybe both also. So it depends upon what is the inspector is going to decide. I have some FAQs. Before that, I have few questions. I think 7 are there. Running out of time. Oh my God. Generally, this bonus is adjusted from special allowance. Is that okay, or should be over and above? No. It is over and above. It cannot be adjusted with the thing what is already paid. Bonus is paid to employees within 1 year or 10 months from the date of financial year. See, that's what I said. The financial year ends in March. So from March, 8 months means November. Before November, you have to pay. After March, why they have given 8 months time is you have to finalize the books of accounts and then arrive at the surplus, and then you have to decide on the percentage of bonus. That's why they've given 8 months time. Ex gratia can be demanded by trade union if at all. We did not mention the settlement. I think this will go as a big grievance if you don't, if something is not agreed between the parties, and that's why I told no, employer has the right to raise the dispute before the labor authorities. In such cases, they can raise it in the authority only. If bonus paid monthly along with salary, can we show it in the salary register? Yes, you can show it in the salary register. That forfeiture bonus from employee also to be paid to the LWF. Yes, when the employer deducts any money which is not his money, then everything has to go to the LWF. This will go as a fine. Could you please explain challenges of paying it monthly again, please? I'll finish my FAQ and then I will definitely see. Paying monthly bonus. The biggest challenge is if I have to pay 583 rupees extra with the salary. The first challenge is I have to pay ESI for that. If I pay monthly, yearly once, it will not attract ESI. But if I pay 583 rupees every month or more than that, then the employee has to pay 1% and the employer has to pay 3%. That is an extra burden. And after that, the second challenge is this has to be reconciled to the annual bonus arrived at. And then if there is any difference, they have to pay. So you have to pay every month, reconcile it, and then for the filing return, you have to do the calculation whether it is the right amount which has been decided finally after closing the books of accounts, or there is some difference we have to pay, something like that. So that is the biggest challenge. How about private hospitals? Are they required to pay statutory bonus? Yes, if they have any profit declared by the private hospitals, yes, they are required. Many private hospitals are paying. I think I have not missed anything. One of the judgments by Karnataka High Court has held the principal employer is not liable. See, that's what I told you. The principal employer is not liable, but he is accountable. I think I used the right word. He is accountable. If the immediate employer, the contractor, is not there, he is absent, he was there, he ran away, then all liabilities of the contractor will fall on the principal employer. Until such time the contractor is there, only the accountability to ensure the contractor to pay, because I, as a principal employer, paid it to the contractor. I can always ask to pay that, or otherwise next month invoice I can adjust and I can directly pay to the contractual laborer. So yes, you are correct. the Honorable High Courts have very clearly told principal employer is not liable in case the contractor is there. If the contractor is not there, the liability falls on the principal employer also. Yeah. See, I told you. I had mentioned that hospitals, schools, colleges, if they are not on profit, see, usually hospitals will not run on profit. Schools and educational institutions also will not run on profit. That's why I very clearly mentioned. Even now, what I had very clearly told is, if the hospital has declared a profit, yes, they have to pay. Otherwise, they are excluded as per the provision. If you are multiple office in states, bonus returns has to be filed in respective states, not necessary. If you are having one balance sheet, if it is in Bangalore, from Bangalore itself we can file. Is it compulsory to pay more than 8.33%? No, not required. Good clarification. Okay. So I have prepared only 3 slides. I'll just go through fast. Please bear with me. There is no clarity on provisions of the Act to consider ESI. I think we have discussed this one. Deemed work days, whether ESIC sickness benefit period is considered as or not, it is not mentioned in the Act. Statutory bonus is taxable income. Please keep it in your mind. It is a taxable income. Whether you pay it as a bonus or ex gratia or any other thing, it is a taxable income. Unlike PF, ESI, gratuity or payment of wages, there are no nomination under this legislation, because in PF, ESI, it is mandatory. Gratuity also, if a person suddenly unfortunate demise happen, then to the nominee it will be paid. Here there is no such nomination. Where a contractor who has not completed 5 years and not earned profit has to pay statutory bonus if it is reimbursed by the principal employer. I think we were discussing this also. So the contractor is in the infancy period and he is not earned a profit also. But the principal employer is paying that money to be paid to the contractual labor. So in such cases, contractor has to pay. I think we were discussing this. Bonus is share of profit or productivity. Hence, it is equal for all employees, performer or non-performer. So you cannot differentiate between employees. So if it is paid differently, it is not statutory bonus. Then it will be considered as a performance incentive or performance bonus. Non-dispersed bonus has to be deposited with LWF. Added to this, I think some participant has raised, any forfeited bonus also has to be deposited with LWF. You see here, if it is non-dispersed, you have to mention the details of the employee, where employee can directly go to the government labor welfare department, he can claim. If it is a forfeited one, the labor welfare department will keep it for labor welfare. That's all. They also will not issue when the employee comes and asks them. This is the difference between these two, non-dispersed and forfeiture. My company is having branches across India. Employees are covered under minimum wages in all states. So I have Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Hyderabad, Gurgaon, Madhya Pradesh. Everywhere it is covered under scheduled employment, but we have only one P&L account. So how to pay bonus? So in such scenario, bonus payable will vary in each state. Yes, because minimum wages per particular skilled or non-skilled or semi-skilled type will be different. As minimum wages will be different, you have to pay different bonus for different employees for particular location. Similar situation can happen within the states also. So how? The example is, for example, I have outsourced company. I am an outsourced company where I may provide security services or housekeeping services or maybe engineering services or maintenance, where I will be employing my employees, where the principal employer is not giving any bonus, but I am paying from my pocket. And few of my employees today they will be working with the bank, insurance company, or oil and natural gas, which comes under central sphere. But few people will be working in the other establishment that will be coming under state sphere. the central sphere minimum wages is always high. The state sphere minimum wages is always lesser than the central sphere. In such cases, there will be a disparity between these two minimum wages. I am not talking about the employee, these two minimum wages. So I have to pay the minimum wages for those working in the central sphere accordingly, and for the central sphere, the state sphere accordingly. So there will be a difference in bonus. That you have to be very careful if you are engaging people outside. Similar to ESI monthly return, if there are no person eligible for payment of statutory bonus, so for many reasons, non-eligible due to more than stipulated wages. All my employees, I've given a scenario, all my employees are getting 22,000 basic plus DA. Ineligibility due to various other factors, they have not completed 30 days, things like that. You have to file nil return. Like yes, I know you have to file a nil return in the month of December. So November is the last day. By December, some state it is December, so you have to file nil return by December. Some state it is February 1st, and some state it is January 31st. It depends upon the state. Prorated bonus is to be paid in case of an eligible employee joins in the middle of the financial year. We have calculated this. If somebody joins in October, we have to compute for 6 months prorated bonus. In case an employee who is employed throughout the financial year but become non-eligible due to crossing, that's what we have seen this example also. Up to September is 21 below 21,000. After September, so he has to be computed from April to September, at only 6 months. So prorated bonus has to be paid. Attendance bonus, production incentive, sales commission. These are all not considered as a statutory bonus, even if it is paid across to all employees. So these cannot be considered. So sometime you pay, sometime you may not pay, because why this is required means your profit may be more, and if you arrive at a bonus, there it will be more, but you may be paying less. So, and also whether some months you may pay, or some year you will pay, some year you may not pay. So this kind of a nomenclature of monetary benefits will not be considered as a statutory bonus. You cannot pay something and then later consider this as a statutory bonus and file a return. So you will be into problem. Interim or puja bonus we have seen. The total bonus you have to adjust. That's all for today. I think I have taken much time today. Many people left by 4 o'clock. I am very sorry for that. I have to cover many things. I have one more question. Filing returns in Shram Suvidha portal is only for the central sphere. Shram Suvidha portal, I told you, central sphere is gas companies, petroleum companies, banks, insurance company. So where an organization has to obtain a license to start their operation. See, for insurance company or bank or petrol banks or an oil company, first of all, they have to obtain a license from the central government. So for them, they will come under the central sphere. Those companies have to file returns under Bonus Act and ISMW Act, BOCW Act. These act they have to file with the Shram Suvidha. If, for example, that's what, if I am working for a bank, so I file return with the Shram Suvidha portal. So there is no requirement for me to go to the state authorities and file. That's where when you file online with the Shram Suvidha, it comes under central sphere. State authorities will never come to you. They will not come for anything. You may get a license to operate in the state, but otherwise for other payment of wages, minimum wages, everything comes under the central sphere. There is no requirement for it to do that. So any other questions, because it's already 4:30. I think I have not missed anything. Anybody else has any other questions? If we have multiple offices in state, I think I have taken this question already. If you have multiple offices in states, bonus returns have to be respective states only. It is not central. Generally, bonus is adjusted from special allowance. Is that okay? No, I think I said this. You cannot adjust. It is no, you cannot consider that when I pay some allowance every month, that I will consider as a bonus. No, bonus has to be declared every year, but special allowance will be mentioned in your CTC or your appointment letter, offer letter itself. How can you determine the bonus in advance and state that you'll be getting every month? So I think it is not possible at all. You cannot consider special allowance or any other allowance, something like that, as your bonus. That is not possible. Okay, I think I have taken 30 minutes more. Is it like we need to declare it? Declare what? Yes. See, bonus, that's what. The bonus is to be paid after closing your books of accounts. It will be declared. No, the company will declare that this year we will be paying 8.33%. We will be declaring 12%, things like that, and they will pay during no, some mostly during Durga Puja in West Bengal and few countries, few states, and for during Diwali, and in Delhi and all for a different festival time, and no, maybe in other states near to November end, so that they will celebrate Christmas, things like that. So almost all companies will declare just like that. They will not put some money and say that this is bonus. That they have to arrive at the bonus. That's what again, and I think this question comes again and again. Gratuity and bonus cannot be part of CTC, irrespective that many companies are having still this as a part of a CTC. I cannot determine 8.33 as my profit, and I can show it in my offer letter. So that is also not possible. Gratuity is also not possible, but still many employers are doing this. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for your participation. We'll be seeing you all in the next webinar. It will be very soon. Thank you so much.